The King's Avatar, Chapter 1656, Intentional or a Mistake. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1656, Intentional or a Mistake. Translator, Noam Yummy. Editor, Noam Yummy. Feng Rui's boundless sea simply idled his time away at the spawn point, a bend in the canyon. He was showing that he intended on standing around and waiting there. Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer quickly made his way past the midpoint and then began paying attention to his surroundings. Although Feng Rui's boundless sea couldn't climb like a ninja could, there were quite a few footholds on the walls. Reaching the top of the canyon wasn't a feat that only a ninja could accomplish. It was just much easier for them. The canyon walls continued to blur past him. Even though he had begun checking his surroundings, Cloud Piercer hadn't slowed down. He was already carrying his two guns in his hands. Boundless Sea hadn't appeared yet, but his guns were still pointed straight ahead, filled with killing intent. The viewers watching knew that all of Zhou Zekai's efforts right now were futile because Feng Rui refused to move. There was no need for him to be so vigilant. When they thought of how unnecessary it was, Cloud Piercer's biting cold killing intent didn't seem as imposing as before. Closer and closer. A player of Feng Rui's caliber would know how long it would take Cloud Piercer to reach him. Boundless Sea finally started moving. He moved left until he hit the canyon wall and then backed away. Just before he stepped into the death to intruders territory, he stopped. Then, he started curling into a ball. But not completely. In the end, he waited there, maintaining a half-crouching, half-standing stance. What was the meaning of this? Everyone was puzzled. Did he think he could hide himself like this? Seeing Boundless Sea's rather funny stance, everyone wanted to laugh. To explore this point, the broadcast and the stadium screens got involved, showing a viewpoint looking towards this spawn point. Boundless Sea could be seen as plain as day. Not a single part of him was hidden. There were people in the crowd who were already laughing out loud. What was Feng Rui smoking? At this moment, the camera began to pull back, gradually pulling away. At a certain distance away, everyone suddenly discovered that this half-crouching Boundless Sea disappeared. It was a matter of angle. Everyone understood. The canyon wasn't flat and straight. The twists and turns would have an effect on the player's line of sight. No one really knew how exactly the line of sight was affected at this position, but in any case, Boundless Sea couldn't be seen. But wasn't it too naive to think that you could hide just like that? Even if Boundless Sea was hidden at this distance, if you just took one step forward, Boundless Sea would be visible again. The broadcast and stadium screens wanted to tell everyone this point. The camera moved forward and backward several times, and Boundless Sea appeared and disappeared several times. Then, the camera continued to pull back farther and farther. The viewers didn't understand what the point was until it stopped. Soon afterwards, the image showed the distance between its current position and the spawn point. Those familiar with Cloud Piercer suddenly understood. This distance was Cloud Piercer's attack range. In other words, Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer could start attacking from here, but he wouldn't be able to see him from here. Cloud Piercer needed to continue forward if he wanted to find Boundless Sea. If he moved to the other side of the canyon, he would be able to find Boundless Sea sooner. However, the precondition was that he had this awareness. Finally, a diagonal line was drawn in the canyon. With one glance, the diagonal line showed where Cloud Piercer would need to cross to see Boundless Sea. Right now, it was a question of whether Cloud Piercer leaned left or leaned right. If he leaned left, he would be able to find Boundless Sea from farther away. If he leaned right, then closer. The problem was that even if he leaned all the way to the right, Cloud Piercer would still be at least 10 steps away from Boundless Sea. This wasn't a distance that posed a problem for sharpshooters. In fact, this distance was a sharpshooter's optimal distance. No one could understand what Feng Rui was trying to do. Was he hoping that Cloud Piercer wouldn't step into the area past that diagonal line? After not finding Boundless Sea, maybe Joe Sakai would think that Boundless Sea had somehow gotten behind him without noticing and then turn back to investigate. Then, Fang Rui would make his move. It wasn't impossible. When everyone thought about the view from that corner, it did have a faint feeling like you could already see everything from there. If you believed in that illusion, then it really would feel like there couldn't be anyone there. What will happen? Everyone felt uneasy as they waited. Joe Sakai's Cloud Piercer finally arrived. After reaching here and not seeing anything in front of him, Joe Sakai clearly paused and had a moment of confusion. He looked to his left and right again, and then behind him. He slowed down, and it seemed like he was going to go with the possibility that everyone had been worried about. Keep going. Countless people were anxiously screaming in their hearts. The Samsara fans in the stadium had started shouting, "Keep going." Everyone was staring intently at that diagonal line provided by the broadcast. Joe Sakai naturally couldn't see it, but the viewers could clearly see Cloud Piercer move closer step by step. "Keep going. Keep going. Keep going." The crowd's shouts were organized and powerful, but Cloud Piercer's footsteps were moving in opposition to their wishes. With every shout, every step became slower and smaller as if he would turn around at any moment. It made everyone incredibly worried. "Keep going." Countless people couldn't bear the anxiety. The shouts were starting to sound desperate. Joe Sakai seemed to have suddenly confirmed something. Cloud Piercer didn't turn around. He kept going and sped up. "He's crossed it." The diagonal line was crossed, and not just by one step, but by 2 steps, 3 steps. Cloud Piercer suddenly accelerated, and Boundless Sea appeared in his sights. His 2 arms were perfectly straight, his dual guns aimed steadily at that corner. "Oh, oh, oh, oh!" The crowd suddenly cheered. Their captain, their ace player, wasn't going to let them down. Slowing down? Was that hesitation? No, he was still going forward, but he slowed down to mix up his speed to mess up Fang Rui's predictions. This was because Joe Sakai understood Fang Rui. They had joined the pro scene in the same season. Even if he couldn't see Boundless Sea, he knew that Fang Rui must be waiting to ambush him. That was why he slowed down and then sped up. If neither side was amply prepared, then the sudden clash would be a contest of their reaction speed. "Open fire." Bullets flew out. Boundless Sea scuttled out. Sure enough, Fang Rui had been waiting there for him. Even if Joe Sakai had messed up the rhythm, Cloud Piercer's sudden appearance didn't catch him off guard. The bullets instantly set off sparks, but there was no sound of bullets hitting flesh. Boundless Sea had a chi wave shield propped up, blocking the first wave of attacks. Bang 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 bang. The dual guns fired again. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Even though the chi wave shield wasn't shattered yet, the surface area was too small. It wasn't like Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella, which covered his entire body. Moreover, after a chi wave shield was formed, it wouldn't move. Roll. Fang Rui tried to have Boundless Sea roll to dodge the attacks, but he didn't have much room to maneuver around at the moment. The area behind him was a forbidden zone. In other words, he was quite limited with his movements. Poo poo poo. This time, the bullets hit flesh. At this distance, in these confines, Fang Rui wasn't able to completely dodge all of Cloud Piercer's attacks. However, he wasn't knocked back by the bullets. The force of the impact had no effect on him. Reinforced iron bones. Fang Rui had Boundless Sea activate reinforced iron bones, but he still had Boundless Sea roll forward as a feint. It likely reduced the damage he received, but at the same time, he was also hiding his next move while rolling. This was a very common trick that he used when he played as a thief. Chi bullet. A blast of chi shot towards Cloud Piercer's head. But right now, the viewers couldn't focus on their fight because they realized that NPCs had spawned in the Forbidden Zone. After the NPCs spawned, all sorts of skills were thrown out. Artillery shells, spells, curses, chi attacks flew out from the Forbidden Zone. Knights charge, berserkers colliding, stab. A tide of NPCs of all different classes had come charging out. Event refresh. It wasn't fixed. It was random. It just happened to occur right now. The projection technology in the broadcast split off a section, showing that the Forbidden Zone at Samsara's spawn point was quiet. This wasn't happening randomly. Something had triggered it. Was it because they were fighting too close to the Forbidden Zone? There was a setting like that? The viewers and the pro players were all trying to guess the reason. But the broadcast team and other staff members had other means to investigate the trigger. And soon, the answer was found. On the stadium screens and the broadcast small screen, a replay was given of what Boundless Sea was doing when Joe Zekai's Cloud Piercer rushed out. Boundless Sea had formed a chi wave shield and also rushed out, but for his very first step, he crossed over into Death to Intruders zone. Boundless Sea wasn't immediately killed, but the NPCs had been summoned because of this small movement. It was a part of the map setting. It wasn't that complicated. If the entire character ran through the zone, that was trespassing. If a single foot stepped into the zone, that was trespassing. And so the NPCs spawned and began attacking. Their focus was Boundless Sea, but they wouldn't intentionally avoid Joe Zekai's Cloud Piercer either. The battle instantly turned into chaos. As for the step that triggered it, had it been intentional or a mistake? End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1657. True Thoughts. Audio source, WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1657. True Thoughts. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. Boom, boom, boom. Joe Zekai's Cloud Piercer rolled through a chain of explosions. He could tell that these attacks weren't aimed towards him. However, long-ranged classes such as launchers and elementalists often dealt AoE damage. The attacks might miss, but the AoE would still reach him. Joe Zekai couldn't completely avoid taking damage. He was dodging. Feng Rui's Boundless Sea was also dodging. Seeing how he was calmly luring the NPCs towards Cloud Piercer, the spectating pro players immediately grasped his plans. It wasn't an accident. Feng Rui had done it on purpose. Death to Intruders. What exactly did the sign mean by death? Instant death. No one had tested this setting before in the previous rounds, but Feng Rui had Boundless Sea cross the line anyways. This move was truly daring and risky. If crossing the line really did mean instant death, then Samsara would have instantly won this fight. Joe Zekai would have won even more perfectly than his fight against Mofan. Cloud Piercer had at least lost some mana that round. But it wasn't instant death. The NPCs were summoned and began chasing after Boundless Sea. And seeing how Feng Rui was intentionally guiding their attacks, it could be seen that he had been ready long beforehand. In other words, he had been waiting for this moment. At Happy Seats, Wei Chen laughed smugly. This was the plan that he and Feng Rui had come up together. When Mofan's deception triggered the ambush from above, Feng Rui had begun preparing for his fight. He had pulled Wei Chen over to the side to discuss how the Death to Intruders setting might work. The system didn't automatically come up with rules. The map designers, in other words, the Glory game designers, had engineered the settings of the map. Guessing the design was equivalent to guessing how the designers thought about the game and the principles that the game had followed for 10 years. Within these 10 years, many of the employees had come and gone, but there would always be people who had kept with the game since the beginning. Wei Chen was one of these people. His professional career had only lasted 2 years, but he had never left the game. He had constantly immersed himself with the design principles of Glory. He was likely more familiar with the game than most of the Glory employees. Wei Chen deduced that death to intruders didn't mean instant death. His reasoning was very simple. He hadn't seen any tools or equipment that could kill someone instantly. Glory had always strived to be as logical as possible. If crossing the line meant instant death, then the designers would set up some way for the death to happen. It could be a sudden lightning strike from the sky, but there would definitely be something that would trigger and guide the lightning strike. The lightning strike wouldn't just appear out of nowhere. It wasn't a difficult conclusion to reach, but there were very few people who would be as confident as Wei Chen. This was the Glory Finals. A mistaken judgment would mean that Feng Rui's Boundless Sea would be instantly killed. All of Happy's efforts this season would be destroyed in an instant. The outcome of this mistake was too terrifying. How many people could take responsibility for such a disastrous mistake? Wei Chen dared to. He had just made a call. That was it. But the current him was like the captain who once led Team Blue Rain. He had always been someone brave, someone who had the confidence to carry a huge burden. I'm certain, Wei Chen told Feng Rui confidently. Thus, when Feng Rui went on stage, he crossed the line for just an instant, entrusting Boundless Sea's life to Wei Chen's judgment. Wei Chen had judged correctly. It wasn't an instant death. The NPCs spawned and then went after Boundless Sea. It was a logical conclusion, and Feng Rui had gone with it. The NPCs spawned, and while their attacks were aimed at Boundless Sea, Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer was implicated along with him. Zhou Zekai's situation was similar to the situation in the first round Yishu and Sun Shang battle. The difference was that the NPCs had been chasing after Samsara in that round, while this time, it was Happy being chased. Sun Zhang's One Autumn Leaf had been put at a disadvantage because of the NPCs, but Feng Rui had brought this onto himself on purpose. What was his goal? Wouldn't this just be similar to Mo Fan's fight in the previous round? He would be facing the combined assault from the NPCs and Zhou Zekai. No. Those who thought this would happen quickly realized the difference. The difference was that Mo Fan had triggered the ambush from above. Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer could attack, and he wouldn't hit the NPCs. But this time, the NPCs were rushing out on flat ground. If Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer attacked Feng Rui's Boundless Sea, if he missed, the bullets would land on the NPCs, and he would become the new target. As a result, Zhou Zekai couldn't coordinate his attacks with the NPCs. So what could he do? Thinking of this question, everyone couldn't help but think of the first round of the group arena. It had just happened not too long ago, so it was still fresh in everyone's minds. That round, Yishu didn't want his attacks to aggro the NPCs, so Lord Grim climbed up the wall and watched free of worries. But Sun Zhang's One Autumn Leaf was able to reach a max stage battle spirit along with the full 5 chasers. His battle strength had reached its peak, and then the rest didn't need to be talked about. Everyone at least knew that the NPCs weren't enough to eliminate a pro player. For example, if Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer just ran away and watched from the side, Feng Rui's Boundless Sea would clean up these NPCs. Even though it wouldn't be enough to kill him, he would certainly lose a lot of health. Zhou Zekai could wait at ease for his exhausted foe. The other option was to attack. His attacks would definitely aggro the NPCs. The two would fight it out amidst the besiegement from the NPCs. No matter how you looked at it, the first choice seemed much easier. Chi masters weren't like battle mages who got stronger the longer they fought. It seemed like quite an easy choice, but Zhou Zekai, who had been decisive this whole time, seemed to hesitate. It didn't seem like Cloud Piercer had made a decision yet. It seemed as if he were still wavering over which choice to make. It looks like Zhou Zekai is having a hard time making a decision. What is he hesitating over? Pan Lin said what everyone wanted to say. Li Yibo laughed. Right now, avoiding battle and watching Feng Rui get taken apart by the NPCs is the better choice. But don't forget how Zhou Zekai has been playing this entire time. Forward, forward, and forward. Attack, attack, and attack. If he suddenly stopped and ran away, his momentum would fall. That's why Feng Rui is sure that Zhou Zekai won't retreat, and why it will force the two of them into a messy fight. Pan Lin said. That seems to be the case. Li Yibo smiled. If that's the case, why does Feng Rui think he'll have the advantage in a chaotic fight? Pan Lin said. Ah? Li Yibo was visibly stunned by the question. A chaotic battle is more advantageous for Feng Rui? He really hadn't considered this question, but when he thought about it for a bit, he discovered something. Yes, a chaotic battle is advantageous for Feng Rui because Zhou Zikai is a sharpshooter. Sharpshooters were long-ranged attackers. Not only did they need a good line of sight on their target, they need space for their bullets to fly. In this sort of chaotic battle, it was too difficult for a sharpshooter to focus only on one target. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Looking for a good angle, a good shot, there were too many factors to consider. Even Zhou Zikai would be held back in this sort of environment. No wonder he wanted to end each fight as fast as possible. No wonder he charged out so decisively every fight. It wasn't just to boost the team's morale. It was because a drawn-out battle in this map was unfavorable for sharpshooters. It was because of the chaos that the map would spawn. At this moment, Li Yibo fully grasped Zhou Zikai's thoughts. Chaotic battles were disadvantageous for sharpshooters. This was a very junior view of the situation. But when watching Zhou Zikai, it was hard not to ignore this point because of how skilled he was, skilled to the point that this sort of junior view didn't seem like it could affect a god like him. But Zhou Zikai didn't think so. He was truly skilled, but he wasn't arrogant. He was decisive, fierce, and unrelenting to protect himself against his weakness in this map. This was why he was wavering right now. Not solely because of momentum, but because his Feng Rui's method had exposed his weakness. Too many people had overlooked this weakness, but not Zhou Zikai. And Feng Rui had also thought of it. He had chosen this risky method to summon the NPCs and create this situation. In Feng Rui's mind, these NPCs focusing him weren't enemies, but allies. Don't run. I've given you so many helpers, what are you so afraid of? Feng Rui wasn't exactly in a great spot with so many NPCs attacking him, but he still had the time to trash talk. Feng Rui wouldn't miss this sort of opportunity and let out a word. He understood Zhou Zikai in their current situation. His words wouldn't be able to affect Zhou Zikai's decision, but he knew that there were lots of people outside who didn't quite understand the current situation. In their eyes, the situation was just like he described. If Zhou Zikai ran away, it would be very unmanly. Feng Rui's words were meant to destroy his image. His trash talk was still quite incisive. Can't run. Zhou Zikai actually responded to Feng Rui. Perhaps it was because Cloud Piercer was at a completely safe distance right now. He didn't have anything to do. He watched as the NPCs chased after Feng Rui. Everyone realized that he had come to a decision. The trash talk that Feng Rui had squeezed in hadn't affected him. He understood Feng Rui well though. When Feng Rui's Boundless Sea took a step across the forbidden area, he quickly grasped Feng Rui's goals. Feng Rui wasn't going to just let him stand on the side and watch. He planned on leading these NPCs to surround him. True, he could run and run, but run to where? Yishu's Lord Grimm could climb up the walls and hide because he had ninja skills. He had much more freedom in his movements on the walls compared to other classes. Sun Zhang's One Autumn Leaf was a close-ranged class too. But Zhou Zikai, his Cloud Piercer, could only rely on jumping to move around along the canyon wall. His movements were very limited. His aerial gun would be restricted. If his bullets landed on the NPCs, he would pull their aggro. Feng Rui's Chi Master also had more long-ranged attacks than a battle mage. While Yishu's Lord Grimm could keep running away safely, it wouldn't be possible for Zhou Zikai's Cloud Piercer. In the end, if he kept running, he would eventually reach the forbidden area on the other end of the canyon. Either way, he would need to win over Feng Rui amidst this chaos. And when that time came, how much damage would the NPCs have dealt to Feng Rui? Zhou Zikai watched for a bit. Feng Rui's Boundless Sea moved around craftily and didn't attack much. He prioritized his survival and his movements. He wanted to bring those NPCs towards Josukai. Even by the time they reached the other side, he wouldn't have lost much health. "If you're not going to run, then I'm coming," Feng Rui shouted. This time, Josukai didn't reply, but his Cloud Piercer charged back. This was the usual him, speaking with his actions. End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1658. Situational Control. Audio source, WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1658. Situational Control. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. Josukai didn't back down. He charged AEAD as always, but this time, he would truly encounter a challenge. The pro players had analyzed the merits and drawbacks of his decision, and understood that this sort of chaotic battle was unfavorable for him. However, most of the viewers didn't realize this issue. In the eyes of the loyal fans, their captain was invincible. He had no weaknesses. What applied to others didn't apply to him. The pro players agreed to a certain extent. A top player like Josukai couldn't be looked at with common sense. Controlling bullets as fast and accurate as a sword, was that common sense? Everyone was used to thinking about them differently, but Josukai himself wouldn't forget common sense. He wouldn't leave his opponents any opportunities. However, Feng Rui was utilizing this map to set up a trap. Josukai hesitated for a while, but in the end, he didn't retreat. Cloud Piercer charged forward bravely. Was he planning on breaking common sense? The pro players thought to themselves. The crowd had already erupted into thunderous applause. He charged forward, but he didn't attack. The tip of his gun was aimed at Boundless Sea, getting closer and closer but never firing. Feng Rui had been ready for a fight with Josukai under these circumstances. Seeing that Josukai wasn't retreating, he welcomed him warmly. Boundless Sea immediately rolled, dodging 2 attacks while also approaching Cloud Piercer. The instant he rolled, an artillery shell flew out from behind him. A launcher NPC had fired at him. With this dodge, the artillery shell was now heading towards Josukai's Cloud Piercer. Cloud Piercer rolled to the side, evading the missile. Boundless Sea suddenly shot up and pushed out with his 2 bombs. Sky-piercing strike. Feng Rui had chained together his attack with the launcher NPC. The sky-piercing strike went straight for where Cloud Piercer was rolling towards. He didn't care if he hit the NPCs. After all, the NPCs were already targeting him. He didn't mind taking down Cloud Piercer along with the NPCs. The AoE from sky-piercing strike wasn't small. Cloud Piercer looked as if he would be hit. With the swarm of NPCs surrounding them, his escape options were much more limited. Feng Rui wasn't attacking randomly. Feng Rui had considered many factors, from dodging 2 attacks to baiting the artillery shell from the launcher behind him to the sky-piercing strike to Cloud Piercer leaving an opening. It was too much. To normal players, everything might seem normal, but to the pro players, all of the little details involved made them feel dizzy. Can he dodge this attack? Many of the pro players didn't think so. But common sense didn't apply to someone like Josukai. Cloud Piercer suddenly jumped up and fired 2 shots. It was just a normal jump. It wasn't fast enough, but with the help from recoil, Cloud Piercer sped up. As he jumped, he raised his legs, and just like this, the sky-piercing strike whistled past him. Fire. Cloud Piercer fired at the NPC crowd. However, these 2 shots didn't grab any of the NPC's attention. The ones near him continued to focus on Boundless Sea. None of them turned their head to even take a glance at Cloud Piercer. He had fired 2 shots at the NPC crowd, but neither of the shots landed. Josukai wasn't so quick to compromise. He was still looking for opportunities within the chaos. Bang bang. But at this moment, the airborne Cloud Piercer fired another 2 shots. The bullets flew out towards Boundless Sea. Besides him, there was no second choice. The two characters were quite close at this point. The two gunshots had come all of a sudden. Seeing Josakai's Cloud Piercer jump and then fire carefully, missing the NPCs, no one thought he would attack so easily in this chaos. To everyone's surprise, he actually had Cloud Piercer fire twice while swaying in the air. Pooh! A hit, and a spurt of blood. The two shots had been too close and too sudden. Feng Rui didn't have time to completely react. Boundless Sea hastily dodged, avoiding one of the bullets. It was just a normal shot, so the damage wasn't anything noteworthy. Feng Rui and everyone else was more concerned about where the bullet he dodged would end up at. Pooh! Another hit, but there was no blood. The bullet had hit the ground, whistling by all of the NPCs. Josakai wouldn't have Cloud Piercer fire rashly if he didn't think he had a good grasp of the situation. He had Cloud Piercer attack because he was confident. Cloud Piercer landed gently onto the ground. There just happened to be an NPC rushing over to attack Boundless Sea. He moved aside. He had no intentions of blocking the NPC's path. The wildfire in his right hand was pointed straight ahead towards Boundless Sea. With so many NPCs moving around, Boundless Sea would appear and disappear from his sight. He didn't attack, but he didn't change stances. However, his two previous shots let everyone know that it wasn't that he couldn't attack but that he needed the right opening. Even amidst this chaotic battlefield, he was able to fire at Boundless Sea without hitting any of the NPCs. His skill was just that incredible. Amazing. Not just the normal players, even the pro players were in awe. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. His aim is great, but what's more impressive is his control over the battle. Quote, on Team Tiny Herb's side, Captain Wang Jieshi commented on the match to his players. A chaotic battlefield is unfavorable for gunners. This is an indisputable fact. Wang Jieshi continued, but Josakai's two gunshots were a signal to Feng Rui. Even in this chaos, I can still attack you. This is where it differs from what the average player might think. Even if Josakai doesn't attack, the threat of his attacks requires Feng Rui's attention. While dealing with the NPCs, he also has to be wary of leaving openings for Josakai to attack. Then what should he do? Quote, a rookie in the team asked. Be proactive, Wang Jieshi said. Feng Rui clearly understood this reasoning. At this moment, he had to be proactive. He couldn't just let Josakai stand there, waiting for the right opportunity to appear. Turn, move, roll. Boundless Sea dodged the attacks from the NPCs while moving towards Cloud Piercer. Josakai saw his movements. Cloud Piercer didn't move up, but he didn't back down either. However, his guns were constantly following Boundless Sea's movements. Pressure. Anyone would feel threatened by Josakai's Cloud Piercer aiming at them. The only reason he hadn't launched a rain of bullets onto Boundless Sea was because he didn't want to hit the NPCs. From this perspective, these NPCs really did become Feng Rui's protective umbrella. Boundless Sea continued to tumble about, avoiding the NPCs through Feng Rui's unique way of moving around. His point of view was constantly spinning. The normal players looking at it had no idea what they were looking at. They couldn't even tell what direction they were going in. They might not be able to tell from Feng Rui's point of view, but Boundless Sea's movements were clear as day from the spectator view. His movements didn't look complicated, but the spinning made anyone looking throughout his point of view want to vomit. It wasn't as simple as just dodging the NPC's attacks. He had to observe his surroundings. He need to know how the NPCs were attacking and moving because he need to know this to win. Just relying on this chaos to make it difficult to shoot him wouldn't be enough to take down Josakai. If he wanted to win, he need to take it to the next step. He had known this from the start. This was very difficult, especially for the current him. Feng Rui knew what condition he was in. He hadn't wanted to play in the group arena. He had wanted to save his energy and strength for the more important team competition. but the group arena was going so disastrously that he couldn't wait until then. But dealing with Joe Sakai would be even more strenuous than the team competition. His blurred view finally stabilized for a moment, locked onto Cloud Piercer, end chapter.